Hey guys, insight number 2. So we're in Ether 6, and this is just verse 30, and I just thought this little one here, because it talks about how the brother of Jared and their family settled, and the process of that they wanted a king, but nobody wanted to be king, because they're like, we don't want any of that. That leads to just wickedness and captivity and wars and fighting, and we see that it does. But there was Orihah did step up and said, I will be the king. He was the youngest of them. And he said, yeah, okay, I'll do it then. Everyone else had passed on it. That's definitely what the people wanted. But in 30 it says, and it came to pass that Orihah did walk humbly before the Lord, and did remember how great things the Lord had done for his father, and also taught his people how great things the Lord had done for their fathers. And he reigns in might, righteousness, and there's peace, and it's great, but it doesn't last, as we see, because of pride cycle stuff. So, although these chapters rapidly show decline, wickedness, and evil, the quick rebuilding with the Lord. So you see the pride cycle happen a lot here. They build themselves up, they fall, they get captive, and they repent, and it goes on and on and on and on. What can we learn here? And I think, look at Orihah. What did he choose to do? Okay, they wanted a king. He said, okay, I'll be king. Even though, really, a government would be better. And even then, as we know these days, government not so great either. It gets harder and harder the more people you have to govern. It's the bigger your kingdom is, the more things you have to worry about, the more people you need to help you, the more deceit and, the Gadiant and robber type thing comes in. We see that come in as well. There's secret combinations, and we'll talk about that as well. But what can we learn here, and how do we walk humbly? I go back to this verse 30, Orihah, because he was great things. He did great things, and he taught the people that God did great things, that the Lord did great things, not just for them, but their fathers, and before that, at the Tower of Babel, where they, even before that, getting there, that how great they had done. They taught them the history of their people up until that point, and how God had come in, and the Lord had come in and been with them every time that they needed them. Some choose not to listen, and that's how we get wickedness. Some choose to go the other way. But I'm just like, how do you walk humbly? What can you learn from Orihah here? And how can you walk humbly? Are you going to choose humble like he did? Or are you going to be compelled to be humble? Because the Lord will make you humble. Do you want to be compelled to be humble? Because it's not a very nice experience. And I've been through that. It's not great. It's very heart-wrenching and sorrowful and painful. Physically and spiritually and emotionally. Scarring. But those lessons never fade. Had I chosen to be humble, would have been a lot better for me. And I make every effort I can these days to choose to be humble, because I do not want that compelled to be humble being put on me again. I recognize Christ for who he is, and I too will tell you about the great things he's done, not only for me, but for the people before me and the people before them, and that he will do the same thing for you. And that's what I do here. So just think about that. Like the pride cycle, and these chapters rapidly go through like 28 generations. It's kind of crazy. And yeah, it's just kind of nuts. So the Come Follow Me manual talks about pondering each of these like examples in Ether 6, 5 to 18, 30, it's great, which we just read, 9, 28 to 35, and 10, 1 to 2. There's different examples of humility. I just picked on the one because I like to go back to the original one who said, I will be king. No one else wants to be, and that's what the people want. He didn't necessarily want it, he didn't desire it, but he stepped up because it's what the people wanted. So I like to go back to him and think, what did he do? How did he show the way of leading a people? Because although the brother of Jared and Jared led kind of as the leaders, they were just like the senior members of the family, like the patriarchs. They were never like the king or the prime minister. And Orihah there really tried to be like Jesus Christ as much as he could be, and telling them who they were, and to follow that example, and to go back to remember your covenant Israel, although that hasn't actually happened yet in their time, but you're still part of that, and how great that he could do. Covenant Israel happens after their time. Isn't that crazy to think of? But they're still part of it. It applies to them as well, as much as it applies to us now. It was a lot closer to their time, but it still applies to us. I think that's really cool. So that's why I go back to that one. But it's still part of that. So choose to be humble or be compelled to be humble. What are you going to do? All right, hang around. We're going to go over to 7:27. I'll see you there.